Hello everyone. So now it's time to start. So as we start, I have a question for you. How many of you think that it is really a roller coaster ride when you are parenting your teen? You can write in the chat. If you feel like that, you can type yes. And if the journey is very smooth sailing, then you can write no. So question is it a roller coaster ride? Gayatri ji says yes. Ashna ji says yes. Let's see how many yes do we get. Swati ji says yes. Scary, right? Says Kalyani ji. Ravindranath ji says yes. Shine ji says yes. So as I read your messages, I also welcome you all to this program today, which is going to be really a learning experience and very fascinating program because topic is very fascinating. Yes. So I think most of us think or feel or also every day we see that it's a roller coaster ride. One more question. How many of you experience this, that your child has either banged the door or has not responded to you or has responded very aggressively? How many of you have experienced it? Write yes if you have experienced it with your teen. Write yes if you have experienced any of this with your teen. Now we are getting more yes, I guess. So welcome to Brighter Minds, and we are going to have this interactive program today with Meenu Shindeji, and she is a resilient relationship coach for parents of teens, especially working for parents of teens, their relationships, conflict resolution. Having more than 10 years of experience, she is here to talk about it, take few queries from us, and help us solve or address few things that we want to address. So, Meenuji, we really welcome you here on this platform of Brighter Minds, and we are so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us for this program. And as you can see, all of us as parents of teen feel that it's a roller coaster ride. So first thing that we want to know from you is, how you have been working. Like, what are the struggles you feel? What is your experience with teens?
No problem at all. I don't see a problem. I'm just joking. My daughter's turning 15, and I have very focused, being close with her journey since, she was a tween. When that child starts becoming with small wings, an adult, a mini adult, going into the tween age, ever since I've been in a state of shock. So if I say shock in the sense that where is that baby? My baby was very compliant. She did every class, every homework, everything. Yes, mama. So which means I mastered her younger days, and then it comes as a shock. So number one challenge I think we all face is the shift in the role. We are this one set of human beings having a full-time job. It's not even our job, right? We get better in our jobs. This is not our job to be expert infant raising person, and then the expert in toddler days, expert in child days. So I think parents need a lot of self compassion, that it's like one superhuman raising different phases. If you go to schools, there are teachers who teach elementary class for 20 years, and they're on top of skills of what elementary children need. And here are a set of parents who are shifting their superhero cape from one to next. So I think topmost challenge is to recognize that, oh, my hat is changing. I was parent of an infant, now I'm parent of a toddler. First realization hit when my daughter was 5. I thought I was helping as much as I help a toddler, because my brain had not shifted. I just did everything. And one day her teacher said, you do realize you need to let her speak and let her do. And I'm like, but I already know what she wants. I'm already on top of that. So, that's where the realization journey opens, the eyes open. That the first challenge is to recognize that our roles are shifting. Until 13-year-old, parents are the primary source of information. And after that, the world around becomes their input. Their experience becomes their learning. So we are not sadly the only people telling them what's going on. Their eyes are opening, realizing this beautiful journey, right? From the time they're just looking at parents, and then every child probably goes through, my parent is not perfect, right? So then how do you show up with authenticity that It's okay not to be perfect because it's a journey. You don't have to be perfect day one when you get married. Into relationships, you don't have to be perfect. You can just aspire to do your best. When you know better, do better. But it's okay just doing your best today. Calling out what skills I don't have. Can somebody please help? Now, even growing up, I did not know I could take help with life or relationship challenges. Career, yes, there are career counselors. Whoever knew if I have a life challenge, it's okay to speak to a life coach. Whoever knew I could actually go to, if there's a relationship challenge, I'm not always the wrong one, but I need clarity. So, what should I do? What is the right thing? I think all of us, once we know what's better to do, want to do it. So yeah, those are two challenges I mentioned, right? You're shifting roles. Second, we didn't even know it's okay to take support. Yes, absolutely, it's okay to take support. Now, just the third thing, recognizing the mini adults. So you have to show up with integrity. I was thinking about boundary setting, our favorite one. All parents would love that. Screen time. Child, get off the phone. So my child has a phone. I didn't want her to be in the bed with the phone. Of course, I know how to set boundaries, but am I in integrity? Did she see me with phone in bed? So setting boundaries is not about just saying, hey, child, do this because I'm the parent. Well, that will not last too long, they will fight back. If you reason, know that you're talking to another adult already in making. You can't just say, don't do, but it's okay for me to do. So I think that those are the challenges. Parents showing up with integrity, but then having some compassion. Okay, fine, I'm not perfect. So now what? Where is that?
So well said. And what I want for all the parents, because you said that we are changing hats and teachers are so experienced, and then they are doing, and as parents we are learning while on the job, and sometimes we learn when we have passed that stage. So do you think that all the parents they deserve this clap, that they are doing really a
Absolutely.
wonderful job? So all of
Every
you can clap.
every parent is my superhero. I'm telling you, there is no such thing as you didn't do a good job. There is no such thing because you did what you could. If you knew better, you would have done already. I mean, it's a personal journey every parent misses. They live in this guilt and shame of having to do better, doing more for the child. And worst thing, what happens when you're focusing so close to their academic success or so close to solving the today's problem, we are missing the bigger picture. We are missing the connection with the child. I have worked with toddlers because every phase of my child, I thought I need to master it. So I had a homeschool. I had a homeschool for toddlers. Then it became child. And by the time my baby was 12, she said, is it okay if I'm not in your classes anymore? Like, I have enough of you now. But, that was a beautiful realization that maybe it is not the kids who need as much training. Maybe it is the parents. I really have all those kids, who are 2 years old and their parents remember me, kids remember me, and parents say, now they're teenagers, so now can you please take over? And I'm willing to conduct teen classes, but not before the gardeners are ready to tend them. I can't leave them in houses fighting with the same set of parents where kids are ready to blossom. Their journey will be so rocky. So I love to work with parents, helping them set up for success so that when their children are ready to fly, blossom, allow them to blossom in their own way, not in the way parents think is success. Allow children to have expression. That's my dream.
So I love the way you said no parent is perfect, but there is, that doesn't exist, in this world. Perfect parent doesn't exist. But when we are together, like all of us are together in this journey, Minuji and all, many of these parents have been connected with us, for long, and we are together in this journey. So sometimes I can do something wrong. It's okay to share with others because through that they will learn. Sometimes I'll do something good, then also I can share. So this community of parents is important. That's why we are having all these webinars. We keep connecting, and I would like to share with you that Minuji also keeps conducting various workshops, and she would be conducting one boot camp also for 5 days. I'll send you information if you want to, just experience it. But before we go for all that detail, Minuji, what do you think? Because as parents, we don't want to be controlling, right? As you said, that we want to educate them, we want to give them good education, do everything good so that my child doesn't misses anything, right? So in that, sometimes we become little controlling. So how to avoid that power struggle? What's your opinion?
Power struggle, right? And I don't know if you remember, because I remember every day of my baby's growing age, I think. When kids at 2, remember how they start becoming like, no, because they start having their own opinion. They have an idea. They think I can do it. And then they realize they can't. At 2, they need more help. But that is the journey. You have to start seeing, you have to allow them to start doing what they can and accept the way they can learn and do more than what they know is by making mistakes, because just like child stands up, they fall down, right? It is so acceptable in the physical sense to see a child walking and standing up first, and they fall down because the muscles are not ready. But if you remember, you didn't have to do much to help a child to turn over their body. You didn't have to do much to get them to sit up, because as their muscles are stronger, they start doing those steps. Once they are ready, they hold things and they stand up. But when it comes to their mental development, emotional development, we don't give that space to kids because we need ourselves need more education about it. What's okay, what's not okay. So we set very hard boundaries about what can be done, cannot be done. So if you talk about power struggles, right? What is power struggle? That mini adult, and now I'm coming to teenage reference, that mini adult is saying, well, you didn't put your phone down and you're asking me to put the phone down.
True.
So then kids think, I don't think you know what you're doing, parent. So child just thinks, oh, maybe I do know better and my parent doesn't. So, for power struggle, number one idea is to keep reminding the child the space of this relationship. I even fold my hands to my child and say, let me do my parent job, please. My parent job is to make sure I do everything I can in my power to teach you. When you step away from the house, you would know I taught you and it's your choice. You're going to learn, you might learn later. I even remember the days when my mom told me something as a teenager. I did not listen. I mean, right at 3 year old, she told me, don't wear the red maxi during Diwali. And I was like, it's mine. So the minute my mom was not seeing, I wore the red maxi. It was a nylon maxi. It's like so many decades ago, right? 3 year old me ran out dancing around diyas. My mom was very clear, don't do it. Even the 3 year old version of me wants a better reasoning than don't wear it because I'm telling you. I wanted to know why. You are not justified parent, so I'm going to do what I want. That's the journey. Whether it is 3, oh, in case you wanted to know, that 3 year old me did catch fire. That was the time when the fire was all around me. I was, that I have my leg burnt and I like that. I never fixed that scar. It's a big scar on my legs. It reminds me, even then, I was such a big rebel at 3. But it wasn't from the place of, I don't want to do what you're saying. It's like I have my thinking and you're not explaining me because maybe parent, you're too busy, right? But if I'm not justified, I will do what I think I want to do. And that is the same person that becomes older. Parent says, so in power struggle, first thing, it's good to remind the child, hey, this is the space of this relationship. I'm the parent, you're the child. I'm creating these fence boundaries, not to hold you back in life, but to protect you, because the day you are ready, you will step out in the world, do whatever you want. But right now, let's have some guards and rails in places. It's even like, child, you might be smarter than me. That's fine. I know less than you. That's fine. But I need these guardrails so I, as a parent, can continue holding you. It's not about your capability. It's also my limiting capability. I have full-time job. I cannot monitor all your screens. But you may not be exposed. You can think you are smarter than me. You can do more things on screen time. So, power struggle is about reminding the space of the relationship, holding that space tight, but from place of empathy, not from the place of power. You get power struggle because you exert power. When you do empathy, empathy means here is what I'm needing. this is what I'm feeling right now. I'm wanting to take care of you. And you, child, are wanting to be more, you want more stimulation. I get it, right? So, child, what are you needing? What are you feeling? And in this role, I need to still hold space to raise you. You're still not an independent adult, right? So power struggle is because there is power exerted by parents. But if it is done in place of connection, then it doesn't work. I can go on like I like so please.
Beautiful. That's wonderful. The way you are telling, I'm also feeling that it's really a good perspective. That sometimes when we feel that hey, I'm parent and it's my duty and I have to do it, and sometimes we also become stressed. No, maybe in that stress we become little controlling. So it's good to remind myself that I have to be empathetic. It's okay to accept that hey, I'm not perfect. It's okay, but I'm your parent. Please help me make it for you. So if you also agree, everyone, all the dear parents, if you agree, you can write down empathy and acceptance in the chat box. Please write empathy and acceptance if you agree to this point, because this is really valid point. And if we apply that, I mean, I feel the thing can be changed. The relationship can be changed, because they don't want perfect parents. They only want loving parents, caring parents. I mean, I keep on working through Brighter Minds with many teens, children, and I mean, believe me, for all the children, their parents are perfect. Whatever you do, they love it. Sometimes they struggle with you, but that's fine. But even then, each child wants to really, really do good in front of all the parents, want to be hero of parents. They really love us from their bottom of hearts. So yes, so people agree to this point, Minoji, empathy and acceptance. So let's take this as one takeaway. And next thing is like you rightly said that to rebel is also natural tendency. Even in toddlers nowadays, even 9-year, 8-year-old child, I see, no, I will do this, and they want to be insisting on that. So how to make your teen listen to you? What should we do so that they listen to us? So I want to know from you, and I think all the parents want to listen to that point.
Yeah, don't we love that? Two things, right? Number one, the answer is in the question, is listen. If parent is listening, teen will listen. So if they're listening, what are they listening? Right? What are you hearing your child say? There are beautiful strategies you can learn, but have the mindset, did I listen to my child? What was my child saying? Before our brains can even understand that, we have in our communication gone to the point where we are just bouncing back. We are just replying back just to give an answer. So if child says something, is there a space to even say, hey, what is my child trying to say? And even checking with the child, because as parents, we have huge agenda for our kids. So even being able to reflect back, hey, are you saying this? Is it that you want me to give you more choices? What is it that you're asking for? Having that clarity in communication itself allows for more space for the child. But if child does not have voice, and the life of a child is just loads of instruction at school. Number one, if child is at school taking so much instruction, they know their space, their boundaries are so clear. How much they can do with the teacher, come back. But where is this human who's about to become the future of the world, right? We send this human out in the world, and that's our new generation. Where do they get a chance to just release? Is there even space for them? Is it okay that outside was so hard, just like we are stressed at work sometimes? We come home and we have space to let go. We just close our doors even to say, I need some silence before I can even be operable human, right? Where does a child get that time to allow, to release? And then having that space to say, hey, is it that it's too much? Right now you want more space. Right now you're not. Where is that time? In teens, especially, right? And then when they do have free time, choices they're making is already driving us nuts, right? We're already going crazy with the choice they make when they have. So the secret in listening is in that word itself, communication. Have we practiced a communication in a way that child hears us? Most kids will say we love our parents, but I'm not sure I can respect everything they say or do. I'm not able to do what they say. If they were given free chance to speak, they may not be able to even say that all the time. But if you allow free speech, So then they might just say parents are so stupid. Like, why would you even want to do that? Right? Because they're not thinking about how it fits in the larger universe. They are just thinking about their immediate gratification. They want to do something, and what parent is saying is absolutely not making sense. If they're not calling out the words in energy, they are doing it. You can see what is their energy. Like my child, funny thing she did, I was in the room and she just takes her body out, goes down. So it's a 2 level house. She goes down. When I go down physically, it's a summer vacation almost finishing. I said, in your energy, do you realize you're just avoiding me? She said, I in words, she didn't could not even accept that she's doing that. She was very offended. I said, is it that you don't want me anywhere around? Would it be easier if you were like physically maybe in really far away space that you don't have to deal with me? She was very offended. But I was putting words to the physical action happening. And then she realized, oh, yeah. And even though I'm saying, Mom, why are you even saying like that? In energy, that's what I'm doing, is I'm doing my best to avoid you. I said, when I say it in words, it sounds so harsh. But in energy, when you start doing it, it starts bottling up and explodes. So, to answer how to get kids to listen, two parts. We stay in the grounded of intention of why do we even want that teen in our life? Why do you want it? Just to do your parent job, or you want to be connected to this beautiful soul you brought in life, right? It's not just that I want to get my parent job done, I want to raise you right so nobody can say I missed out on anything. None of that. Get to the basics. I am with this beautiful soul because I always wanted to be part of the same family, even if they work like, how many countries away. I always want that emotional bond. So it's for connection. So this human is in your life for connection. Hold that intention. It's not so that they can do their homework today, so that they make good choice today. It's because lifetime I want to be connected with you. Keep that thought process in mind that I want to stay connected, because the words you will use from that place will be very different. It will not be threatening. If you don't give me, I'm taking your phone away, which I still tell my child, that sounds so threatening. I will take your phone away. It's very violent, if you ask, right? So if I want to be connected to this child, hold the intention. Then do activities that are connecting, not always about agenda, what I need my child to do. Connecting activities. Hey, let's have fun without any agenda. And let's have a collaboration idea, right? Everybody, now we are going for hiking because it's good for health. All of us go out together. We'll all get exercise. There's still agenda. My child doesn't want to. It's fine. We are home. And then my husband, he would be like, okay, all of us watch this movie, and he doesn't have enough space to decide. Okay, now that movie's too boring. You guys are not picking good movies, so let me pick for everyone. I mean, I don't want to see. My daughter doesn't want to see. And then she is turning 50. She has her own ideas about movies she wants. She says, hey, if you're picking movie, I'm not watching movie if you guys are gonna pick. So yeah, idea is collaboration, connection. And when you have that connection, you'll have enough space and time to ask the child, hey, do you know why we are doing this? Do you know why we have phone screen time? I mean, is it just me, or I'm going crazy as a parent thinking I'm hurting you? So you can have a very meaningful conversation with the child. You just need to invest more time in connection and hold the mindset of connection. I'll give you a quick test if you're holding a mindset for connection. When you're walking towards a child, check the energy in the body. Once I was going towards my child to tell, turn off your laptop, and my energy was as if a soldier going to the war field. And when I noticed that energy, I just did an about turn. I said, this is just not acceptable energy system to talk to a child. About turn, not talking now. I need to calm down. I need to feel a little balance. No life is ending. Child is not going in front of a running train. So no need to act like you need to protect in a way that a car accident is about to happen. Regulated parents will raise regulated children. Open parents will raise open children. If you are controlling, you will raise controlling children. And you will see those signs coming up. It's right in your face. You already know who you're raising because they're looking at you.
True. So I request everyone to please write in the chat what you feel about this point. Like when you, I mean, Minuji, you went to the next plane, I think, because we think that okay, only communicating what I am saying should not be sounding very controlling. But you are saying energy. That means intent, thoughts, Everything is important. If you are going with the thought that today I am going to, put that screen off, I am going to set that boundary, and I'll see that it happens for her. It it may go little here and there because child may revolt, right? So watch for your energy. So if you feel that that is the right point, and every time we are going, we should always. I'm going means whenever we are going to talk to the child. I was just going through a joke. It said, just check if you are a good parent by whenever you are, willing to face your teen with a smile. Are you willing? So I really like that, because sometimes when we also want to have, like you rightly said, watching movie. Suppose we want to have fun with children. What happens during that fun? Also, the parent inside us comes out. You should do this, you should not do this. So that teaching mode is always on. Every time when I am with my child, I should teach something. So that teaching will become little difficult. So I think you can write in the chat if you agree that we will watch for our energy, intent. Communication is, yes, that is very important, but energy and intent is even equally important. So please write energy, watch energy. If you are going to watch it from the next day, maybe tomorrow, or by tomorrow, but maybe today. Yes. So we are getting answers in the chat. Yes. Nice. Very nice. So Meenuji, I want you to now, because this is high time that we think of some actual practical solutions which will really work out. How we can improve our relationship with the teen. Can you give some practical tips, because you have already given it? So give us some more so that we apply it from today, and then we are, we feel that yes, we have done something. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's the program I offer. I offer the programs where people can stay with the intention first in their relationship, and then do communication and conflict resolution. So what I teach is, let's do a small idea about how to stay connected is be in the same space without agenda. Start with just 5-minute connection time. You don't even have to. I totally understand. I have a lot of self-compassion for how hard I have been working through this journey. I have a lot of compassion for every parent. It's like every parent is my superhero. So don't hurt yourself thinking you've not done enough, your past self has not done enough. Give a lot of compassion. What you did till now is what you knew. And so you did that. You did your best already. And now you're open to learning. You're here with Surabhiji, who's already helping so much with cognitive training. Surabhiji is helping with Brighter Minds, helping children, nurturing parents. So you are already, as a group of parents, doing a lot. So take a lot of credit, because you have to celebrate you brought your child this far. And from here, if you want to learn a technique for connection, how do you nurture this connection? Just ask child, can we just sit down 5 minutes together and do different things? I usually give ideas on, 5 minutes, tell a joke. Okay, let's play a game, just 5-minute game. And there is no agenda but to just be in the playful mood. Make me laugh. Then child will do silly things to make you laugh. You say, okay, now I'll try to make you laugh. I remember the time when my daughter used to say, Mama, nobody made me laugh today in school. It was so hard. And she would say, can you please make me laugh? Because we did this a lot. So it brings tears to my eyes to even think a child would have such a day. But as teenagers, so much of expectation on them. So giving them that 5-minute connection time, they will start building trust. So trust is not towards to say, oh, now I can get you to do whatever I want you to do. Idea is, no, this is your connection, which will stay lifetime. Child will want that 5 minutes all their life. Mom, can we have that magical 5 minutes we do, where you don't tell me what to do and I'll not tell you what to do, and we'll just be together. So it's a beautiful 5 minutes you could do to connect. And since the theme for today is setting boundaries, I will give you a quick practical solution. Think about 3 steps. First step, clear communication. Think about a very small boundary you want to set, even if it is phone time, right? Or do it less conflicting topic. I thought of phone time and I went into so many thought processes. Think of very small. Okay, what is the deal breaker? After 12 p.m., it will am, it will never be on, because my child has a lot of projects late night in high school they start doing. So I kept thinking, so what will be that absolute, it has to be honored no matter what, even if you're still doing your homework, studying for tests, what will be that hard line I will draw? So if it is not phone, it is okay, not watching movies, whatever it is, pick one thing that you're very clear, absolutely deal breaker. Say, this is one thing I think to protect wellness, we should follow. Ask the child, what do you think? But then remember, there are two type of things you can do. One is parent rule, which there is no negotiation for that. I'm not asking you for input. This is what I'm telling you as a parent. I would like for you to do. It helps all of us, not just you. Second is agreements. So I will not go into details of how to draw agreements with your teen, where you can come back to discussion and negotiation to say, hey, well, we said that, but now we need to rediscuss. So today we are not talking about, I'll not go into details of how to manage interactions. Just a quick 5-minute solution is, hey, this is the parent rule. I think it helps you, me, all of us, if all Wi-Fi is down after 12 a.m., let's say, and it's not going to turn back on, which means middle of the night, no one is checking their phones. Suppose still, if it is on, suppose Wi-Fi is not on and child is able to do, if I notice that this happens, you will be separated from your phone for 1 week. And that is my personal consequence for my child. So for my child, she knows that her phone is goes away and she puts it away wherever she wants. She puts in a drawer. So I'm not even touching. I'm not even telling her, give me your phone. I say, can your phone go back in the drawer and do not touch for a whole week? If she tries to touch, she knows it's gone again, gone away again. So I make space for making mistakes that I know it is tempting. I know your brain couldn't stop holding from your drawer, but I think it's not safe where you know where it is kept. Let me put where you don't know. Having very clear steps. So 3 things are required. Clear communication of what will happen. What do you need the child to do? Second is consistent. So I notice you did this. So this phone needs to now go away. So sometimes if I say, okay, today you take it, but tomorrow, next time onwards, you don't do. So if you don't have consistency, child knows it's a negotiable deal. It is not a closed deal. So if phone is with you, if you touch the phone when I asked you not to touch, let's say after 9 p.m. don't touch, but you did. So now let's put the phone away, and still you are touching it. So it will go away where you don't know, so that you don't feel tempted. And final thing is empathy. And I know how hard it is. Come on, if my phone goes away, I know how hard it is. I'll feel like fish out of water. My whole work is in there. My friends are in there. And for her, all her friend communication is in there. It is hard. So let's not just break in the first place, but I need your brain to train. These are the days you'll train your brain. So we are just training the brain. It's not about putting you down, making you small, and telling you what to do. So clear communication, consistency. Do what you said you will do, and hold empathy. It's not about, oh, of course, you are just dealing with the mess of your own choices. You did this and now you're dealing with it. I mean, who is this person talking like that? This is just a control freak person telling the child what to do. And if you don't do, you'll deal with your consequence. So stay with empathy, stay with how child is feeling. They're feeling miserable. And right now, probably you're the villain of their life because you're taking away what they want. But they get it, you're a parent, and you have to teach, and it's hard. So if my child is crying out loud and she cries, my God, my daughter's an opera singer. She sings in soprano really high. It feels like even the walls and the roof will break. She can sing that high and that loud. And I would still sit with her and I'd really tell her, I already got migraine by now. It's too loud for me. Can you just bring your voice down because you are sad? I want to be with you, but I really want to know that, I'm just doing my job. Like, I'm really pleading, please let me do my job and allow me to be in this space holding you, because I have to raise a child who will go out in the world. So I hope this feels practical. I did go into a little bit of story, but yeah, practical solution. Do what you say you will do and stay in integrity, right? If I am doing the same thing, if I tell child don't have sugar and she sees me having chocolates after chocolates, she's like, I don't trust you as a parent.
Yeah, so I agree to this point, and I would tell you, for all the parents, I want to show you this book, The Wisdom Bridge. It's a wonderful book for parents to go through. You can just go through, because I read one chapter every day. Even if I have read the book 4 times, I read it every day. It is written by Dr. Shri Kamlesh D. Patel, who is Global Guide of Heartfulness, and wonderful solutions in this. Let me tell you all the practical, wonderful solutions. You can get it on Amazon. You can take it and just go through. you would really, really feel nice. And also because he suggested that all the parents are really tied up nowadays. All of us are working hard, as Minuji said. All of us are all of us are superheroes. We all are doing our best efforts. But because we are in nuclear families nowadays, we have lesser support. We have to do everything at our own, isn't it? So if we remain connected, then we can at least connect with someone in need. That okay, I need this. Can I talk to this person? And believe me, we are always available. I'm sending you this link for WhatsApp. You can just join this WhatsApp group. Anytime you ping us, anything that you want to discuss, and as a Brighter Minds trainer, as a heartfulness trainer, that remains with us only. We don't share with anyone else. Minuji knows she's also a heartfulness trainer. So that remains with us only, and we would try to give you solutions or at least listen to you. You know, what we can do, we can think together. But you will have someone with whom you can share. So you can join this link. And also these points that Minuji shared, few points we have covered in our YouTube channel also, because every week almost 3 to 4 reels, few videos we keep on releasing. So you can just go through whenever the topic resonates with you. You can go through, you can just have a look in this YouTube channel. The purpose of this is to just make you aware of things, because there are many things I keep on reading, my team keeps on reading. Like now Minuji is also connected with us, who specializes in this teen communication, how to build resilience, and I would request Minuji for continued help and support for everyone. So let us be together in this journey, because no one can be perfect, but we are trying our best. That is the truth. And these 3 points that Minuji said, they are important, but for every family, it may need little tweaking. How much empathetic you need to be, how much insisting you need to be. So you can write 3 points. What were those 3 points that she spoke about? And if you have any query, like I can see few queries in the group, we can take it. You can write 3 points if you understood, and then I will request Minuji also to write those 3 points so that we will have it with us. Whatever points you felt, yes, clear communication, consistency, and empathy. Yes, Ankita ji, that's correct. I request you to just think over it, because this will need your tweaking to apply for your family. Minuji, can we start our questions and answers? You are right. Energy, connecting. So everyone is writing what they are taking. Very nice. So you can start applying from anywhere, and then let's stay connected and work on it more, because it's not one day the thing. We have to continuously be working with our teens. So I can see few questions. So Jagruk ji is asking, is strictness needed? There are situations where child doesn't listen to anything, want only their way, very adamant. That's true. So he wants to know that is strictness needed. Jagruk ji, if you want to put your video on, audio, working, please, you can do it so that everyone can see you also. And I request Minuji to take this question, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you build this connection, when you start practicing connection with your child, you will be able to at least have the child be able to say what you're wanting them to do, right? And the child might decide, I still don't want to do. Now, there are some things that after so many years now, I do what my mom used to say, but that did not mean I did not listen to what she said then. So as parents, my mom also, showed me that she said everything, but I wasn't doing all of that then. It didn't make sense. It didn't feel right to me. And then after so many years, when I'm raising my child, I bring up same thing, but I also know if they're not listening today, someday they are. So how do you know if your child is listening? What is the measure of that, right? So keep that in mind. Just because you don't see the results now does not mean they're not listening. And the second thing, the how about it. Do we have to strict? Yes, firm boundaries. Firm boundaries does not mean we have to raise their voice, yell, because then that's how they will learn that this is the way to get things done. Why is the child raising voices? Because they've seen the parent or someone in their environment. I'm not putting all the burden on primary parent, right? They go out in the world, they see that, hey, what gets things done? And fear is the easiest way to get things done. Of course, if my child is scared of me, they'll do it right away. But do you need to be fear motivated? Because I don't think you want to hang out with a person who you're scared of. You will start avoiding them.
Mm.
So it takes extra work, yes. And it takes a lot of openness to say, okay, I told my child, but clearly this child thinks differently. So what is it that you want, child? Right? Because clearly, can you please tell me what you heard me say? Okay, I heard you say study from this time to this time. And let's say, it's nice to have an example of specifically where we are holding, because even if my child says, no, I want to run on the street and the car is coming, I'm not going to stand there compassionately explaining. I
So,
have to grab whatever part of my child's body I have and I get them off the street. So it depends what we are talking about, stay in a context. But it just because you raise voice does not mean you win, does not mean the child will listen. So then what does mean child will listen? And what is it that you want child to do? You can test the listening concept, right? Hey, what did you hear me say? And the child will say. But then if I have a very condescending tone, putting down tone, children sense energy. I mean, energy is not just felt by people who do meditation. Energy, somebody walking in the room angry, and everyone can feel that in the room. So energy is felt by everyone. Very quick, I'll give an example of one study done. There was a very happy toddler and talking to a happy adult eating food, and it was a science experiment. Child was eating happy, eating well, and as an experiment, they put a hostile person in the room. And this hostile person was only talking to adult, not even to the child. He was not being hostile to the child. He was hostile to the other adult in the room. And this child stopped eating. The way this child ate totally changed. So, energy is everywhere. We just pretend that it's not there. It's there all the time. This I mean, I'm talking about child under 10 years old. I was talking about a toddler. Their eating patterns change. So in a household where everybody's screaming, child's eating patterns change. And now you force that food in child's mouth, their natural energy system is not allowing. All their digestion system, everything is tuned to it. So that's why, as a humanity, we become more and more, unwellness. If mental wellness is not there, everyone start bringing those levels down and follow some strategies. It's not easy to expect. Just because I became a mom doesn't mean I know all parenting technique, right? So go out, learn, make yourself aware, but hold the intention. All I want out of this relationship is how to raise a child so that I can stay connected with you even when you go away. Someday you will. Will you want to come back to me? Right? You want to be in each other's life. So stay compassionate. With the same energy, child will also reciprocate. So if you're forcing down your idea, I mean, my mother-in-law is 82. She lives with us, and she's onset dementia, so she forgets. So now my daughter sees how we are interacting with her. That's how she knows how to take care of an elderly in front. If I'm saying, hey, you're not listening, I told you something 10 times, and I have to go on repeating, that child will treat me like that when I am old. When I am 80 and I'm not doing well, she will treat me exactly how, she's treated. So it's all coming back to you, by the way, not to scare you, but that circle of life.
true, true. And that makes sense
Thanks a lot.
basically. Uh,
Oh, yeah, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for asking. It always helps bring so much more from inside when there's a question. So I appreciate your question.
Yeah, Jagrutji, we understand network problems, so you are not able to put your video on, but your question will not only help me and you, but also many others. So thank you for asking. On this note, I would like to add here, Minuji, like you rightly mentioned, the way we are, thinking about energies, they are very important. So I would like to share with everyone because many parents don't know what heartfulness does. So, heartfulness gives you detox techniques, relaxation techniques, and we are working in Brighter Minds, right? In Brighter Minds, we one part of the program is also to work on child's energy. Of course, the main objective is to improve concentration in children, how to make them more intuitive so that they become better in decision making. But one part is also how to make them more empathetic, how to make them understand energies, deal with negative energies also, because in the world you will get many kinds of energies. But at the same time, when child is going through brighter minds, we request parents to experience heartfulness. You can experience heartfulness relaxation, you can experience heartfulness meditation for 2 3 days, and then see how it goes with you. And you would really experience something from within. And what I experienced, Meenuji, when children are doing brighter minds and parents are doing heartfulness, the complete environment of the house changes. So slowly child doesn't listen, and then we shout, and then it becomes a cycle. That has to be broken somewhere, because more we shout, more child will not listen, then more we shout. So it will become like this only. So how to break that cycle and bring that harmony, peace, connecting things within us. So that is important for a family. So I suggest everyone, and I request that you can experience it. And we are here to support you. Please, I have shared that WhatsApp link, you can join. You can even reach out personally if you are not comfortable in joining any group. I can sharing this number if you are interested in experiencing heartfulness. I'm sharing my number, and with kind permission from Meenuji, I will also share her contact details with you, because if you want to join that boot camp, and I just went through it and it was wonderful, and you can just go through it, and I'm sure you would experience good things. So it see, I always say, Meenuji, negative things spread very fast. Even my guide, he says, when two negative people will meet, no, they will immediately network. Okay, you do terrorism there, I'll do terrorism here, we are one. But positive people, they have that sort of ego, they don't connect. So when positive people come together and connect, that creates a different kind of field of positivity, love, joy, and peace.
Surbi, I'll give you a very good idea about why in negativity it is easy to bond, and in positivity why it is hard. It's a really fun way of looking at it also. Uh, our human brain is designed for survival. So as a caveman person, we were always scared. So our thought frames became more negative. Is the lion out there? Is the tiger going to eat me? So the way our brain got trained is a negative framework. Is this going to hurt? So that's why when the child goes out, they are more scared, and it's hard to reframe into a positive sentence right away. Be careful, as if something is already going to happen. Our brain already travels there, that something bad is going to happen, because it's a caveman's brain in the process of evolution. Now, a practice like meditation helps you access your higher functioning brain. Empathy, meditation, higher self-realization needs a higher functioning brain. You cannot stay in the survival brain to do this activity. So even to stay positive, you would have to use your higher functioning brain. And to be there, you would need a practice which will help you first take you to that brain. If you're living in the survival fight or flight, you cannot think positive. So it's a good space of self-awareness that, hey, am I thinking of fight or flight? Like nothing happened, but I'm trying to just be scared all the time. So if you start building that awareness, then you start living in the higher functioning brain. And that is the brain that can say, well, I can choose differently too. So people who meditate, people who start framing their life, learning, growing, and not all the time looking at, are the ones who did some practice to make a shift. But if you are always scared, always worried, always, in this cycle of survival, and a person who's doing meditation doesn't mean they don't go. But that's why we do daily practice. Every morning when I do, it's a refresh. But what happens is, after doing practice, also people go into their habitual thinking. So that's why you need two pieces of daily practice of meditation, daily exercise, so you have right chemicals in the brain. And then if you still have thought process that doesn't work, at least know that there could be another way of looking at it. That's why you have life coach, relationship coach. There might be another way to look at the whole situation, and it would make very different sense out of it. So something I wanted to say, I always thought, well, yeah, of course, it's hard to be positive because you have to be in your higher functioning brain. You have to look into neuroscience for that.
Correct. And let me share with you, parents, this is called default mode network. That means our brain works by default into negative mode. So to do something negative, you don't need to do anything. But to do something positive, you need to do something consciously, intentionally. And that's what we request you to just experience a bit. So thank you so much for that insight. Now I'm going for the second question by Ankita ji. Any tips for parents to stay motivated and keep practicing these lovely tips? Since we may not be successful all the time, that's so
Yes.
true and practical. Thank you, Ankita ji.
Absolutely, just like meditation, right? If I'm doing meditation alone, at some point my fuel is out. I need group to sustain me. So be part of circles that nurture you, where you learn new things, where you grow. Because if we know so much and we stay with the same information, saying, I know all I need to know, let me go out and let's say do something else. Yeah, you can go learn something else. But are you nurturing yourself as a human enough, like in the role wherever you need help, right? If you feel you need more support as a mother or as a parent, yeah, be in circles which will help you learn more, grow more, do courses, make yourself, take yourself to the next level of parenting, because you will start seeing life so differently. And at least I went to the point where I became certified master life coach. I was a parent who was struggling. Maybe you will come up with something so beautiful. I think each one of the parent already has such beautiful experiences. You'll come up with something of your own, which is so beautiful. We just need that little bit of support. And Surabhiji is offering such beautiful support space. She keeps inviting you to WhatsApp group to support. But yes, that would be it. I would be part of courseworks that teach and then find ways to plug into the communities where you could get more help.
Thank you for helping us, Meenuji. So I'm taking next one more question. You're welcome, Ankita ji. She's saying thank you. So quickly we are going to the next question because we have to finish in time. So Snehal ji is saying how to handle passive aggressive behavior of teens. That's very true, energy. While we are trying to seek this connection.
Yeah.
How to handle passive aggressive behavior of teens while we are trying to seek this connection. Most of the times they tend to passive aggressive as they are not able to express their emotions well. Very well said. Very well said, Snehal. Thank you.
Yeah. So what are they saying? If you really simplify it, they're saying no, right? So if you put a two-letter word, what they are passive aggressive or active aggressive, end of the day is saying I don't want to. So under every no, there is a yes. Work on communicating what would you rather have. I see you don't want it, right? You're holding back. They're not able to speak. Sometimes it's not even because they don't know their emotion. Yes, they may not be able to put in words as well. But what would you rather have? What is it that feels open? Now, that kind of communication also requires some practice, right? Because the child should want to tell you. Why would the child holding back? Because they're of the fear factor, right? Parental pressure is high enough. Of course, if I say you're going to get mad at me, why should I even put myself in trouble? It's like putting my own foot in my mouth. I'll not tell you. You're just going to get mad, and again, I'll be in trouble. So the passive aggressive is because I'm not able to tell you loud enough, no, parent, thank you. I don't want to do this. Now, how to make the child want to do it? Another story, right? Child has their inner wisdom about what they're trying to do and why they are holding back. Maybe you don't have face. What you see about a child is tip of the iceberg. The whole giant mountain is underneath, especially for teenagers. I usually have this whole visual about they have so much of self-judgment, so much of peer pressure. Already they're putting themselves down. Children live with the idea of think about a spotlight on a stage. They, in their brain, the spotlight is on them, the world is judging them, and they are not perfect, and they need to do something else to be perfect. Now, where did that messaging come from? Maybe how many times did we tell them you are actually good, and there's just little thing I'm trying to help you with. But when our focus is on child, let me fix you, where is the time for child to know I was 90% okay because only messaging I got was I was being fixed at home. So think about passive aggressive is not only about, I don't want to put the burden on like you are doing something to the child, but know that your zone of control is so small because 90% what they're learning after 13 years old is from the world outside. Even if you have a very calm household, child could have a very active aggressive, a passive aggressive behavior. because they are seeing how they are being treated in the world. So they are these mini adults practicing going in the world. They're looking at everyone and they're saying, I don't even have the skill to deal with this. So slowly, they go through their own process. Like it's okay for child to know there is something called hate because they need to feel the experience in body. There's something called shame. There's something called guilt. They'll go through all that. So one thing I want to just say a little differently than what was said before was empathy. There is no end to it. It's just how you express it that would be different. But there's no end to how empathic you could be, because all it means is you are staying in the knowledge what your child is going through and what you are going through. So just build those bridges so that child can also see, I also feel vulnerable sometimes, and child can say, mama, I feel vulnerable about this, like it's really scary, I know nobody likes me because of this, I'm always delaying my work, I'm always late, I'm always this. Give space for that, but then you as a parent need to be very resourced to hear that. So child cannot say all of that. Like if they're not being treated well, they're not able to say, because you'll say, why didn't you fight back? Why didn't you say that? Right? You need to man up. You need to grow up. It's hard. It's hard work. So a whole lot of compassion for yourself, but a lot of compassion for the child. Because they're nurturing. And by the time they're 25 plus, most part of the brain is fully developed. But right now, they do not have access to their higher functioning brain as much. They are not able to plan as much. They're learning the skills, they don't have access. They have biggest emotional center in this time. So, and when child has biggest emotional space going on, that is not the time for communication. Your time of communication was when everything was at peace and there was no noise in the house. So parent, go do homework, write your notes down, what is the message I want to give to child, but not when the emotion is high or resistance is high. You create your spots of connection time with the child, and in that time you can say, hey child, this is really important, I need your idea, like I want to pick your brain, you tell me, how does this sound? Like that is the time. So when you're communicating is the point, not when you're getting the fight back. And that is a dance, cha cha cha, go 2 step forward, 2 step back, two forward. But
Yeah.
that is the journey we signed up for.
And I feel the first thing that we discussed, that when empathy is there, when you are also accepting that, hey, as parent, I'm not very perfectly there. So maybe child also learns that it's okay to not to be perfect. So
Absolutely.
moving on to the next question, I hope this answers. Sonia ji has sent us a message. When your child is away from you, have 18-year-old child who just left for college and in different state. Oh, that is, really something. And not communicating much. What vibes or prayer would you suggest? Wonderful question, Sonia ji, because believe me, this is not only your question, but this is the question that many parents whose children are far from them, they have it in their hearts. Meenu ji, over to you.
So a lot of love, mommy. you know, the first thing you are going through, just staying in the know what happens to moms of teens usually is that around the same time, moms are also going through change in their hormonal systems. Our own bodies are going through so much. Your change in the body, and then dealing with the life situation about empty nesting. So there's a term around it. When children leave and then parent is, pining for their company. And what is really going in the mind of that 18-year-old who stepped out? They just went into a new world, not sure whether they are overwhelmed, not sure whether they are in this exciting adventure mode, not sure what is their mindset, right? So they could be any of the above. So now, if you are wanting to communicate with them, prayer is something, I think it's in the heart of a mom from the child was born. And I think when we move out of this body, prayers will stay for the child and for the family. So I'm never going to say, no, prayer is not the answer. It is always going to be, that's a lifestyle, 24/7 of a mom who's already birthed the baby in the world. And that cannot be enough. We want to stay interaction. So the communication model, what you've done in the past, now you can't change the past. So hold compassion for that however you spoke, you spoke. But right now, if you call the child, what do you think they are expecting you to say? Because in a very patriarchy, hierarchical model, authority model, parents are usually calling to ask, hey, did you do this? Are you doing that? Why are you doing this? What are you doing? Now think of that child as an adult. They have their own life. Yes, you are paying for the parental fees. Yeah, I get it. but if they're practicing to be an adult. They don't want to be answerable for everything they do, whether they ate food, did not eat food, did they fold their clothes. They don't want to be. So think about, here are the things I will think about is, what would child think if I call? Are they thinking that mom is checking on because she doesn't trust me that I'm a grown up? Or is it that they already have self judgment and shame and guilt in them, that I'm doing so horrible that if I call my mom, I'll not even be able to say, is that my going on? I'm not saying start worrying about what's happening in the child's life. I'm saying start predicting and understanding child is going through 100% adult human life right now, staying away from you. It's like the birds that fly away from the nest. They're strengthening their wings. They might fall, they might go hungry, everything will happen. So first thing, in the intention, don't start with something bad happened to my child or they are not doing something they were supposed to. Start thinking about, child, I know you're practicing to be an adult. Mama's heart is little missing you. So 5 minutes, can I just call, say hello, I'll hear your voice, you hear mine, and we'll be done. Like, do not talk about what you're doing until child says, mom, you know what, like you have to build your communication in a way that child starts opening up to say, hey, see, this is what I'm doing today. And they would know you have already taught them everything. Trust what you've taught them is what your energy system needed to share, and they needed to learn. So trust that you did everything beautiful, only because we can't change past. So the only other way to look at it is, I did all I could. That was my best. Child learned what they could. That was their best. And today, I just 2 minutes, I just want to hear the voice. Start with that small, tiny request. Don't make it into full blown every time. Make sure you're calling me this many times. The better report on this, blah, blah, blah. So think about where you are. I don't know your life situation, Sonia ji. So I'm just saying, first hold the intention only of connection, not expecting. I understand expectation as a mom. Come on, I want to talk to my baby. I could be in tears not being able to connect. But the minute you have expectation, you will start rolling down, because your expectations are based off what? Like, what is the basis on which we build the expectation that they talk, right? So it's not about what I'm expecting the child to do. It's about, I'm wishing to connect, and let me see if child is available. Like, they're practicing being adult. Maybe they are tired. Maybe something's happening. You don't know what's happening, right? So it's hard to assume. So don't make assumption stories. Instead, stay with intention to connect. Like, I want to talk to my baby, and make it a tiny request is my strategy for you. Like, tiny request to say, hi, I hope you're having a great day today. Maybe share one line of your personal, like text messaging. I'm assuming some text messaging. I don't know if they're so mad they blocked me, did not block me, does not matter. As long as you hold intention to connect, I know it will work. But it takes some practice for sure. I've had parents who with adult children as well who never connected, and now they beautifully connect. So that is what I do. I teach how to stay in communication. I teach how to, hold the conflicts in a way that they become your deeper connections in relationship, not something that pulls you apart. So my heart is with you, but I want you to stay with hope that I just want to connect, and 2 tiny minutes of my baby's time.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I hope this answers. Yes, Sonia ji says yes. This really helped. So we tried to take as many questions as we could. I have again shared my number, and if you have something in mind later as well, suppose. Thank you, Minoji, for sharing website, and I would, seek your permission to share more details with everyone. I'll share with everyone. So. What I'm willing to share with you, maybe after the webinar you have few questions in mind, please feel free to send it to us. Please feel free to connect one-on-one also with us, and believe me, we will find time and we will try to talk to you. And maybe few things in general you cannot speak, but you want to share something and you are seeking answers for few things, you can of course connect for any heartfulness, brighter minds, anything that you have in mind for your child, for your family, you can always connect with us, and we are there to help you, support you, and that's our promise. Thank you, Meenuji, for joining, and thank you, everyone, all the dear parents for joining in your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.